Hi, I'm Debbie Harbeck, and I'm a certified life coach working with women in midlife and through the menopause transition. So each week, I'll be sharing the latest information, inspiration, and generate some momentum so you can move forward and feel more in control of your changing midlife body and your life. Let's go. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. And I want to dive into a question that I hear a lot, and one, to be honest, that I've asked myself more than once, and that is, will I ever feel like myself again? And it's kind of like a tender question, right? If you poke at it, it hurts a little bit. And maybe you whispered it to yourself late at night. Maybe you find yourself awake like I do sometimes, lying in your bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering when things will start to feel better because everything seems so unfamiliar. Or maybe you've even shouted it out in frustration. And I have done this myself when your body's doing things you don't recognize, or your emotions are swinging like a pendulum or a wrecking ball. So if that's you, I want you to know that I feel you. I am with you. In these past 3 years, I've been dealing with arthritis in my hip, which has been getting progressively worse. And the worst part of it is that it's been affecting my sleep. So I don't remember, honestly, really don't remember the last time I slept through the night. I can only sleep on my right side, and I've got to set myself up just right with all the pillows I've got. And now I'm at the point where I'm on a list for a hip replacement. So I definitely miss the old me who could sleep, who could run, and I know that you probably feel this way too with whatever you're going through right now. So I'm talking to you today as you're wondering if you will ever feel like yourself again. So let's get into it. Let's begin with midlife itself, because midlife is often described as a crisis. And for sure, I understand why this word is used. I mean, hormones shift, relationships change, your kids are leaving, careers are stalling or pivoting, bodies ache, friends drift away. And maybe for the first time ever, you're starting to ask other questions like, who am I without the roles I used to play? Or who am I without the body that used to have endless energy or less pain? And who am I without this job I've been doing for 25 years and now I've been let go? And these questions we ask, they're not about our situation. They're about a sense of identity. So for years or decades, probably, you've been defining yourself by what you do. You've been a mom, a partner, a worker, maybe a manager, a fixer, a caregiver. And we've also defined ourselves by how we look. We have a certain type of body. We have a certain type of hair. Our skin is a certain way. But now things are shifting, and the ground that we stood on once before doesn't feel so stable anymore. So when we ask, will I ever feel like myself again? What we usually mean is, will I get back to how I used to feel? But here's the truth that might be a little uncomfortable, but I think it's also super freeing, is that you're not supposed to go back. We're not here to rewind the tape to our 30s or chase the body or energy or mindset we had before. That version of you, it was real. And it was also in a state of change. It's like you were a caterpillar. And this version of yourself right now, that's also real. And you notice that change is happening because now you're in the cocoon. You're preparing to become a butterfly. You will never emerge from the cocoon as a caterpillar. You can't return to who you were. You have to become the butterfly that you are meant to be right now. And that requires maybe grieving that old version of you. And I think there's some sadness there, and it's worth going through that and feeling that emotion and processing that. But also, you've got to be open to seeing what's next for you. So, I'm going to go even deeper here. What does it mean to feel like yourself? Well, when I think about saying that, I realize that it's not just about returning to what's familiar, it's about being more authentic. So I think What feeling like yourself actually means is something like speaking truthfully instead of saying just what's expected, or saying yes to things that actually light you up, and saying no without guilt. Maybe it's creating space to explore the parts of you that were buried under all the shoulds that you placed on your shoulders. I should be fit. I should be further ahead. I should be better off financially. And maybe it's accepting this changing body and changing along with it so you can support it. So I mentioned my hip before, and I've had to make changes in my life, right? Luckily, I can walk, and I have a group of friends who used to run with me, and now they walk with me, which is fantastic. And I've returned to the pool, which is something I probably never would have done, and now is something I really love and look forward to. I've had to respect that I need to get to bed earlier in order to actually get some sleep. I need to listen to something that calms me so I can fall asleep. I've had to accept that I'm going to go through this surgery in the next probably 6 months to a year in my early 50s, even though I thought it was something I might only have to think about in my 70s or even 80s. But I'm redefining my life because of it. And this issue that's been challenging me is now really making me stronger. So, what if this is the first time in your life that you get to redefine yourself on your own terms? So, when I think of my coaching clients, my beautiful women that I get to speak to every week, I hear them saying things like, I don't know who I am anymore. And little by little, through coaching, we peel back the layers. Sometimes they rediscover creativity that they forgot they had or never really looked into before. Sometimes they find strength in their bodies again. Sometimes they finally speak up in their relationships. Sometimes they launch businesses or they go back to school, they write books, or they start hiking trails they never thought they could. It's not about getting back to who you were, and it never was. It's about becoming someone even truer. And one more thing I want to say here, because it goes deeper than just the physical or emotional, there's a spiritual shift that happens in midlife if you're open to it. And it's not always religious, but it's something that whispers there has to be more than this. You might start questioning what you've been living for. You might feel called to something greater, some sort of purpose or contribution or even joy. You might feel more connected to nature or to your intuition or to the idea that your life still has so much meaning, and what are you going to do with that? This is not a breakdown. This does not mean that you're going crazy. This is an awakening. And yes, it's messy. I went through this spiritual awakening when I left my traditional job to become what I am now, a coach. It was a purpose-driven decision. It was a calling. It was strong, and I listened to it. And yes, it was messy. And sometimes it still is. Where you need to go right now might go against what you've been doing up until now or what others think is right for you. But following this spirit, this knowing, is also incredibly beautiful and fulfilling. So let's come back to our question. Will I ever feel like myself again? What if the answer is no? And that's a good thing because you're evolving, because you're shedding old layers. You're becoming someone wiser, someone more grounded, someone more real. And that version of you, that version filled with wisdom and authenticity, she is worth getting to know. So if you're in that place right now, this in between, this fog, this weirdness of not recognizing yourself, I know you're not broken. I know you're not lost. I know that you are becoming. And if you need help navigating that becoming, please reach out. Coaching can be such a powerful space to reconnect, not with who you used to be, but with who you are now and who you are becoming. So I just want to thank you for spending time with me in this episode today. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone, share it with a friend. Let's normalize these conversations and remind each other that midlife is not the end, it's the deep middle, and there's so much here to discover. So have a fantastic week, keep moving forward, and bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Midlife Momentum Podcast. If you want to learn more about working with me, come visit me at debbieharbeckcoaching.com. That's Debbie, I-E, Harbeck with a C, coaching.com. See you next week.